character garages, where everything's going.
The audio is
Or
live
even
now.
do it by the department.
Say anything too interesting?
No, the tool can fit in the background. This is an interesting mix. Yeah, no, the tool can fit in the background at the library. I always have a question.
Am I on it?
That's fine.
Are you?
Are you rolling? Why?
We are.
Because
Okay.
Andy.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. Oh, that might get loud. You look shocked. It's 6 o'clock in the town, so we are gonna call the meeting to order. First is public comment. So if you'd like to come, make any comments, raise your pass forward, and come in 3 minutes. Anybody like to join us? No? That was me waving on my. No? You're fine.
Hello, 6 o'clock in May. Cleaning in order. First item on the agenda. Any public comments?
Rebecca helped you out.
Oh, I missed it. Okay, let's check some here.
Police department.
Fabulous. Police department.
Next, we'll call to order the public hearing to accept the police department safety grant. Chief Johnsville.
This is just our annual highway safety grant for traffic enforcement.
That's what we need to do.
Love free money. Thank you. Questions?
So we've talked about in the past, right?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Any questions from the audience? That's what we're here for.
Being no questions? And move that we, the town Lee Select Board in the majority vote, accept the terms. Oh, I.
No, sorry.
Just moving my pen.
That's okay, that's you. I am closing the hearing now. I move that the town of Lee Select Board in a majority vote accept the terms of the New Hampshire Department of Safety grant as presented in the amount of $10,400.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope. With a roll call? Or all in favor?
All in favor?
Just break it.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want us to sign this now? When we do the...
You can do it when you do the rest of it. Set it with a pile.
Okay, so we move on to appointments. First, we're going to talk with Emily Woodall.
Hi. Just here for a monthly update on the library renovations. We don't have a whole lot to report this month, but just in an effort to continue to be transparent, keep the lines of communication open. I'm still, going to come in, even though we don't have a whole lot. All I have to update everybody on is that the new electrical pole went in, so maybe people have seen that. We are still waiting for the exact date for when the electrical work will actually be done for the trench and the building electrical work. Haley and the other librarians have been making great progress on clearing out the schoolhouse portion of the library. You've probably seen pictures online, or you've stopped in and seen it. It's pretty much almost empty, I think. So that's making great progress. And then I am gathering quotes and estimates for the exterior clapboards. That's proven to be a little bit more challenging, getting people to respond to that. So I'm hoping to have those by our September trustee meeting, but it's just been hard to get people to get estimates on that. So, and that's all I have. Any questions or anything that we should be aware of? All right, thank you.
One thing I could comment on quickly, Dave Devenish from Building Maintenance told me today that he has located the paint to use in the town hall for the storage area that's going to remediate the contaminated floor, and he actually managed to get it for considerably less than he thought he was going to. So
Oh, that's awesome.
he is going camping for a few days, but when he gets back, I assume that will get going. So.
Okay. Oh, great, because I think once that's done, he'll move in the rest, or any sort of shelving into that, and that will pretty much finish up the room. So, thank you.
Good news, thank you. All right, moving on to Chief Tom Donfield.
So in preparing my upcoming budget, I was calling around to get quotes on cruisers. And when I talked to Foss Motors, they no longer make the Dodge Charger anymore, so it's either the Ford Explorer or the Dodge Durango. The Ford Explorer is just under 47, the Durango's 40. So in talking to him, he said, when do you plan on ordering it? And I said, well, if it passes in the budget, it won't be till next March. He said, you won't see the car till sometime in 2025. They're a year or so out. They have a 2023 sitting on the lot that they ordered one, got two, and it's spec'd out just the way we ordered the color, the all-wheel drive and everything. And the price on it is $40,653. I checked with Andy, we have well over that in the special duty line. So we could purchase the car out of the special duty line. And then one of the cars that I was going to trade in, Steve is interested in, because I guess Dave needs a maintenance truck. So we'd give him one of his trucks, and then Steve would use this car as his on-call back and forth. So that's something that we can work out. And then I know that code enforcement needs a car. So I have another car that we use just for details that we can really go without. So I talked to Karen, if she pays the $1,000 to have everything stripped out of it, they can have that car as well.
I wish somebody would give me a car.
They did once, didn't they? Do we have comments?
Can you do that all over again?
Yep,
So you want to buy a new one
yep,
out of special duty?
Yep.
And then do the rest of it again for me?
so what I was planning on doing was trading in one of the cruisers.
Yep.
The trade-in value would help buy, what offset the price, would help buy the equipment to put into the new car. So in talking to Steve, he said that he would actually be interested in that car, give the truck that he uses to Dave for maintenance,
Mhm.
and then this car would be his back and forth take-home vehicle,
This Steve.
this Steve
Okay.
Bullock.
All right.
And then Karen and Bill, their vehicle's on its last leg. So I could take the vehicle that we use for details, and Karen can pay to strip it out, it's just under $1,000, and then they can have that car.
And that's a Charger?
That's a Charger as well.
Because they have an SUV right at the moment. right?
Correct. Yeah, but this is an all-wheel drive.
That would work for them.
Yeah, that would work for them just fine. And I also have a spare motor that I had bought some years ago. I got a chance to buy a motor for a good price, so I kept it and we put it at one of the containers at the highway department.
Okay.
So
And this car from Foss is another Charger?
it's a Durango.
The Durango?
It's a utility vehicle.
Okay.
They don't make the Charger anymore.
Okay.
Do you have something?
Yeah, just information with regard to the planning and zoning car. It had several estimates as to what it needs to get it back in shape. It's having some difficulty. The transmission skips, the engine misfires. I believe the last estimate was around $4,000, and it has a Blue Book value of somewhere between $2,700 and $3,000. So
So what would we do to get rid of that?
Well, they brought it over to Foss to see about trading it in also, and they only offered them $1,500. So you'd probably be better off just to put it on Marketplace and
surplus it.
get a few $1,000s for it.
Because there's no sense keeping it if we're not using it, so.
No, and I have used it, and it's an interesting ride, and particularly interesting when you get to places like the traffic circle and have to accelerate.
Oh, okay. Did we ever get any closure? I know this is not yours, but the Humvee, can we?
Yeah, and Tom can speak to that if he wants. I did talk to Tom about that after talking with the board, and I think I probably only talked to Katrin afterwards, because that's a military surplus vehicle that came from a government entity.
Yeah.
It can only go to another government entity. Tom can't surplus it, or
Can we get rid of it, or? with other-
Yeah, I mean, I've tried, the problem is that the transfer case is bad in it, so it really doesn't move well, and it's hard to get parts for them, so not a lot of people interested, but I really haven't tried. It's one of those things that's been sitting there I forgot about, but I can put the feelers out there and put a message out if anybody wants it. maybe somebody who has one, I know Madbury has one,
Yeah.
maybe they want it for parts or something.
Can we like drive it to Madbury and just leave a sign that says
Just leave it. Have a little basket by the door.
Yeah, well,
It's gotta
Please
be
take
worth something
one.
with metal, right? It's got a lot of.
Oh, you would think, it's heavy, I mean, the tire, but the problem is I can't scrap it,
You're not allowed to scrap?
no? No, it has to go to another
Can it go to a
government entity.
government entity of the transfer station?
Oh, I guess it could,
I mean, it's a government, you can make it a government entity and then that
yeah.
go to them. I don't see why that wouldn't work.
I can look into whether we can salvage it. I know that we can't sell it.
Yeah.
The former chief in Kingston, he was the guru when it came to this military surplus
Yeah.
stuff, and he retired a while ago, I can't get a hold of him,
Yeah,
because
I'm
he knew
sure
all the
there's a
ins and
way.
outs. Um,
So back to the vehicles. I'm gonna be a party pooper and I apologize. One of the reasons that vehicles are changing and being harder to get is because we are, as we have talked many times, switching over to EVs in many places. The Chevrolet Blazer is actually coming out in 2024, lists are coming up now. That is a completely EV made for police departments, it's completely spec'd out, it's just been announced.
I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah, it's a brand new vehicle. Chevy's been doing the Bolt and many other EVs for quite a while, so they have a really good reputation. And everything is already, the wires are in, everything is all spec'd to be used for police. So first of all, if we're buying a vehicle because we're afraid we won't have one in 2 years, because I do know last year we bought 2 vehicles because they were a great deal, I wouldn't necessarily panic yet about that, because that is an option. We do get the tax credits and all that stuff with an EV as a municipality, just as you would as a resident. So I wouldn't mind giving it just a few more minutes to think about, because I do think there's options. Also, we're only getting 1 new car, and you're talking about 2 being replaced. Is there one we could just go ahead and do now, or do they both need to rely on this is it
Well,
sales
I
tax?
can give one to Karen,
Okay,
but I can't get rid of the other one unless I have a car to replace it.
Correct.
Because it's one of our duty units.
perfect. But one we could do that's not, doesn't have to be
Yeah.
connected to this too.
Right.
So it can
Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead. Okay, so there's some options.
so how do we take care of tax credits if we don't pay taxes?
So that
What
is
does
a
that
new creation because that was a problem with solar and other things, that there is now called direct pay. So if you don't get tax deductions, you get a direct paycheck from the government when you make a purchase. So if you bought solar, remember how we used to have to do PPAs and that was the only way to do it? Well, now we can actually get that tax credit ourselves instead of having to get an investment company to do it, and they will write a check to us. So that brings that price way down. So it might be worth just looking into, because it has been announced. I can send you the information.
Okay. Do you any idea how much they're gonna be?
I don't know, but I do know they're trying very hard to be a really good price point for towns and municipalities. So it might be worth just peeking into.
Where are we at with the charging station? Because we'd have to put a charging station.
Absolutely, and that's really a piece of cake. You need a level 2, because you probably charge it when you're done with the shift.
Right.
And so that would be, if you just had one that was just for the police station, they're about $800 at the most expensive fancy ones, and then about $1,000 to install. If you wanted to get one that had a rate and you charge people and all that stuff, then that's more like $8,000, $10,000. So not a big deal with that. And I know that New Hampshire Electric Co-op does sometimes, they have some rebates as well. So along with the tax rebate, you can also get a $1,000 check for an EV. There's a lot of options out there. So I just want to make sure we're looking at them. If we really need something, it just seems like we don't really need it till next year. So I'd hate to buy a 3rd car early, but that's a decision.
The only thing, we have the 2016 that we have right now is starting to cost us quite a bit in repairs, so
Yeah, that does make
that
sense.
was the, but I'm open to all options.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys want to?
I mean, I guess the question is, do we need the car now? Or is it worth, what did you say, 2024 or something?
Yeah, it's next year, so we can get on the list right away. Just-
2024 wouldn't be bad, 2025 was,
Yeah.
Stretching out.
How long do we have to make the decision before they take that car away?
well, I asked him, he's holding it until tonight,
Okay.
and I'll give him a decision tomorrow.
Okay.
If it goes, it goes.
Yeah.
The only concern I would have is a new model coming out. It's not usually good to buy the first one that comes out, because there's usually issues.
I agree with that generally. It's just that it's like a
Yep.
change on the model, but, I mean, it's up to you guys.
Okay, I'll start the ball rolling. I will agree with the chief's request to take it out of the special duty fund.
I'd rather buy a new car than be paying money into an old car and then look into getting this for the next new car.
Great, and I'm happy to do that if that's something that we can just make sure we.
I can, I can still, we can talk and find out what the price is, and then I can call Nevo to find out if they're ready to outfit something like that.
We go
and-
forward with this if it turns out that that's the best option.
Yeah, and
That's
go
great.
from there.
Perfect. That's
Can
it.
I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Since this is a Durango, you said?
Yep.
So what do we have would fit the new vehicle? Because you've had Chargers.
right.
And
So it's pretty much the radio, the radar, the camera system is the only thing that fits in them.
so the light bar and all that other.
Light bar will fit if they drill through the roof. Well, I'm thinking resale down the road, I really,
Yeah.
So yeah, the problem is, as anything, the cost of everything
Is,
is ridiculous.
Can I just get clarification with regard to the purchase? We're gonna use the special duty fund to buy this vehicle. Of the other two vehicles, are we talking about trading one vehicle or?
Well, one will go to Karen.
Yeah.
She'll just pay to have it
Planning and zoning.
stripped down.
So one to planning and zoning.
Yep.
That's
And
the
then
detail car.
that's the detail car. And then the other one will go to Steve, and we'll figure out how to work that out. Either he pays an invoice to Nevo, or something like that. We can figure that out.
Yes.
Yeah, and, I applaud Steve for looking for another vehicle for the fleet, but I am baffled as to why you would give the DPW director a police cruiser as a secondary vehicle. The primary reason you give the police chief a cruiser, the fire chief a command vehicle, and the DPW director a truck is so they can respond after hours to emergency scenes with the appropriate vehicle and the appropriate equipment. And I'm confused as to how a police cruiser is going to accomplish that. And I think we have two trucks. Even if Dave is not going to be taking a truck home, there's still going to be a truck here, even if he uses it for maintenance. And we have a new F-250.
well, I'm going.
All apologies to Steve for saying that, but just as I sit here, I had to spit it out.
I asked those questions earlier.
Our department heads know how to run the department. If they're requesting that, there must be a good reason. If you want to ask them why, that's perfectly fine, but I'm counting on their expertise. If they think that's the best way to go,
Do we want comments or?
you can ask for comments. I'm all set. If either of you ladies or Andy wants to ask, that's perfectly fine. No?
I would love to know, I mean, I'm sure you've talked about it, so I'd just love to know how that works for Steve. And is it not, how does that work?
So Durham's director has a car, Ebbing's director has a car. The only thing I really respond to directly are trees down, and I can have a chainsaw in the trunk. If I have to close a road, I have to go to the office anyway to grab signs, because I don't take road closed signs and detour signs home with me every day. So, and I'm doing a lot more now than when I started in Concord with being on the Waste Management Council appointed by the governor and a bunch of other stuff, so. And we're doing a lot more classes that require 4 seats instead of 2, because there's 4 of us. So if we go to class, all 4 of us, and we're either taking 2 trucks or paying mileage.
Right.
In the wintertime, I'd probably take the pickup truck home anyway, and just because it's got the spreader and the plow on it. So it would just be a rotate, but it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. We've been looking at trying to get Dave one. The pickup truck I currently drive, we brought down to see what they give us for trade-in for, and they only give us $3 grand.
What year is that one?
It's 10 years old, and it plows roads, so it's pretty beat up.
More important question is the chief gonna give you the real back seat?
Yes.
Oh, you will, oh, good.
Both cars will have
Because
the real back
nothing's
seat.
more uncomfortable than those plastic seats in the back of the cruiser.
And we can actually leave the light bar because it can be changed to yellow,
Oh, okay.
so.
Excellent.
But I called a bunch of different guys around. Dover's guy has a car. Most of them have cars now.
I think you get better gas mileage with the cruiser than you would with the truck anyway, so.
Yeah.
And it's all-wheel drive, so it'd be good unless they get in the snow.
Sounds good.
That's where my mind was at, and then trying to get something for the building maintenance to drive around in, because we're paying him a lot of mileage right now for his own car.
It makes sense. It's just hard to buy another gas car for me right now. But that's fine, if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do.
And I agree with you, Katrin. I think the next one that we buy, any other fleet, I think we should look seriously at that.
That's what we
So
said last year.
Well, no, I've said all along, I have no problem, but I didn't want to replace a duty unit.
Right.
I wanted one that maybe the sergeant could just drive back and forth, that way if it didn't work out,
Right.
we weren't stranded. I'm all for it.
I-
And if we can, if we can do something with this Blazer, and Nebo said, yeah, we can set it up. If we can get one sometime next year, then I'll get that. I've got no problem with it.
That'd be great. So are you gonna just contact them before saying yes tonight, or how are you planning on?
I mean, Dodge,
Chevrolet.
Chevrolet, well, as soon as you send me the email, I'll contact them tomorrow.
Downloading this.
Yeah,
I
and I'll
apologize.
call them tomorrow and see what the lead time is on them.
Okay, perfect.
And I will also check with New England Vehicle Outfitters to see about the equipment. I mean, the lighting is all gonna be pretty much the same, I would think, same configuration.
Yeah,
I don't know.
this would have it all in there.
This comes with,
This comes, yeah.
With blue lights and everything?
Yeah, that's what they said, that it's a police cruiser, like made for, and that's why.
Right, because that, they,
Excited.
all the cars we buy, they call the police package.
Yeah,
Yeah, that doesn't include the emergency
I don't think it
lighting.
includes it with it, but it's all wires.
Yeah, they all come in with the harness and the high voltage and the, yeah.
But you can't get
circuit
it in
breakers.
Tesla, you can't get it in most of the other cars,
Right.
they're not options,
Right,
so
so,
that's why it's exciting.
yeah, if you send me that information, I'll look at
I-
it first thing in the morning.
Absolutely, and if you wanna Google Chevrolet Blazer EV, I just
Okay.
don't know why it's not downloading on my page right now, so it's spelling, so I'm not quite sure, but that is there too.
Okay.
So I'll try to get.
Sounds good.
So, I make
Go
a
ahead.
motion to purchase a vehicle for 40,000,
653.
40,060, 653, to purchase a new Durango to replace our current cruiser and the funds to come out of the special duty fund.
Should I put in there where the cars are going and stuff? Do we need a motion that the car goes to here and the other car goes
If
to
you
here?
want to do that too at the same time, I don't remember all the things that are changing. That's why I just want to this.
Okay, all right, then second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
And hopefully everybody captured what is happening with this vehicles.
I think everyone knows what vehicle they're gonna get next. All right, so Steve Bullock, we get to have you come back up. Talk about windows.
So, you remember we were in talking about, so we had one fixed by a professional. And that cost us $749.60. I got it right here.
Good.
Tom Gialusis did it, so that was two professionals doing it. It took 7 hours to do one window. And they obviously had their 15% profit that they do, so it was $97. But just in materials, they didn't mark up. And I have the receipt from Exeter Lumber was $231.83.
And which one did they fix?
The worst one was the fire chief's window facing this side.
Okay.
So just materials was $231.83 for that window. To do every window and the doors in this building just in materials is $12,100 about. Might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less, depending on how bad my measuring was.
Okay.
But that's if we do it just in materials.
Well-
So if you pay somebody to do it, it's gonna be around, you figure $720 per window for a contractor. It's like 23. That's just to do the trim.
Yeah, that's not fixing any of the.
That's not, well, so the windows, there was nothing wrong with. When they took them all off, the vinyl windows were fine.
So it's just to repair.
The sheathing underneath everything was fine. It's just you have to take all the wood and the metal around everything off, and it's replacing it with that plastic ADX stuff. So, I don't know what we should do.
Is there something that we can put on?
So you can put it on a warrant, do it all at once. You can fix it side by side every year instead of doing it all at once. Do this side one, that side the next, and the police side the year after.
Are we Eversource here?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so New Hampshire Saves Eversource, I was on a call with them the other day, and they are looking for big projects to work on with communities. We've been thinking about working with the new town and the library, the new town building. I'm wondering if we could at least have them review it, because if they did, anytime, if we're not replacing the windows, I don't know that we would get help, but I know we would get a lot of help if we were.
So Tom said there was really nothing wrong with the windows. They're all vinyl.
Yeah,
It's just everything around them. And I give that 23,000 price. That is tough because like that window
that's really like.
right there isn't, that was for like, that would be what, for double hungs into fix. Like where you go to replace stuff like that, it's a lot of money because it's a specialty
Not
window.
standard, right?
But we're fixing it because there's heat loss, right?
Yeah, there's heat loss. I mean, like on the police chief's side, there's not even wood behind one of them. They just kind of put the flashing up and forgot the wood, so.
So why don't we work together and figure out if we can get them to come here and give us as much money as possible? And then from there, we can figure out, would it be coming from our buildings budget, or where would the,
I can talk to our rep about the New Hampshire Saves program.
that'd be great. Yeah, we're actually gonna meet soon anyway, just to discuss options, so.
But like, we don't have the time to do all these windows.
And I don't think that that's a great use of your,
Like, we could do some ground floor ones and plug away at them, but once you start coming up high,
yeah.
like I said, we're not professional builders, so their 7 hours might be 12 for us.
Right.
Because that was with 2 guys, so it was like 3.5 hours for each guy there. I mean, it's gonna take 2 of us, and it might take us all day to do
That was on the
one.
ground floor down there, right? So
Yeah.
that's a whole different ballpark.
Yeah, and he got stung by hornets because there was a hornet nest inside the rotten window of the fire chief's window, so it wasn't.
Okay.
So I don't know what the right thing is. It's kind of leaving that one up to the 3 of you. I don't
That's good.
call Eversource, I just don't know what the right way to go.
I think the best thing to do right now is to start with New Hampshire Saves and have an energy audit, see what else we can do, how we get some money there. Then another thing will be to look into, you know, what are the bids and the options, and then, yeah, then come back with some numbers and decide how to go forward. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Look for the money
I wanna
first.
see this.
What?
You want to see this?
No, I'll take your word for it.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that's an amazing price, because I've replaced some windows recently, and that was, I mean, it was
Well,
a window, right?
it helped, we got a contractor from the town of Lee to do it, so he's a taxpayer. Plus, there was no way he could even do the project, so this is what it's gonna cost, and there wasn't really any markup, so I mean, it was
Yeah.
nice of him to be able to at least fit us in to do one.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thanks for taking care of that.
Excellent.
All right, anything else?
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
All right, we are on to Liz Stone. Talking about the hours for new office hours.
Okay, good evening. I don't often come talk to you all. And so I just first wanted to share a couple of exciting things that have been happening in the town clerk tax collector's office. One of them, a couple of weeks ago, I finished my NHTCA certification, and I'm Lee's first certified tax collector that we've had in their 36 years of certification, so I'm excited about that.
Thank you.
Also, Georgia and I think Georgia's here, are hosting the Stratford County Regional Tax Collectors Annual Conference here in the Public Safety Complex tomorrow night at 6. So we're looking forward to being more active in that community. And but what I'm really here for tonight is to talk about my plan to enhance the town clerk tax collector's hours. So as you know, you've seen from my memo, right now our hours are Mondays 8 to 6, Wednesdays and Fridays 8 to 4. There's a couple of reasons why I think we should move our late hour from Monday to Tuesday. And one of those is that most of the holidays fall on Mondays. And that impacts not just the public, but it greatly impacts the part-time staff who gets 4 hours instead of her normal, 10.75 she'd get on a Monday. The other reason for that is that last year they started a pilot program where they offered late hours for the municipal agent help desk and the title bureau, which are the two offices that we use all the time for motor vehicles, things we can't control like titles, anything problems with the plate, that's who we have to call. And they recognized that communities were opening their hours late for that. So they started a pilot program that was successful, so they implemented that. And those hours are on Tuesday nights, not Monday nights. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Why would we not line up our late hours to be lined up with when they're offering the best support for our residents? To further enhance those hours, we were going to add an hour on Wednesday. That would be opening up at 7:30. You could catch some people before work, opening until 4:30. That would not impact the budget. I would handle those hours unless for some reason I could not, and then Georgia would for this year in the fiscal year. Then we do Thursdays 8 to 4 and Fridays by appointment. Just these changes, not including Friday appointments, would increase our hours per year by 142. 142 hours more a year serving the public at no real impact, except for that holiday hours, which would benefit my part-time employee. So I see this as a win-win, a win for the residents of Lee and a win for my part-time staff. We're competing, you want to keep people happy. This is better for us and better for the public. But I'd like to, in the spirit of cooperation, I'd love to give you guys a chance for feedback, ask me questions.
One of the things, this is going back years and years, Monday night, because we meet on Monday nights, so are you okay if nobody else is in the building when you guys are there late Tuesday night, or?
We're always alone in the building at the end because
Okay.
our public closes at 6, and even if they leave at 6, we don't end when our office hours end. We've got to close up. I'm not even done. I'm gonna have a meeting at 7:30 for the greeters, and then I'll go back and finish closing up. So we'll be there. We're used to being alone. I mean, we're together. We park close in the light on those days.
Just want to make sure you're comfortable that you're.
We've been doing that for years. So.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
My question was about voting days.
Voting days, we have to be open on Mondays 3 to 5, so we would be open to take absentee ballots on the Monday before any election before 3 to 5, because we'd be required to.
Okay, so because Tuesdays you're at, I mean, if it's a voting day, you're at the polls usually all day, so people can't register cars those days.
Right,
So if you
so
move
we'd be
Mondays
open
to
on Monday
Tuesday.
before,
Okay, so
exactly.
you would just do 8 to 6 on the Monday before voting, right?
We could potentially talk about that. I don't know if we do quite that many long hours, because I don't know if you realize, but on voting days, it's a 16-hour day
Yeah,
for
no, I
us.
know.
So we want to make sure we're good. But we would offer hours. I don't think we would do 10 hours the day before that.
Okay.
We'd be required to be for 3 to 5, but we would also be available to do motor vehicles and all of that on the Monday before.
Okay,
Yes.
because I feel like there's a lot of elections coming up, so like saving all these Monday holidays is awesome, but if we have all the like equivalent Tuesday voting days, then it doesn't really save us anything.
There's only one election left in this year, and then coming up, you're right, every few years, we've got, in 2024, we're gonna have the presidential primary coming up. We have one election, this year was just the town election.
Yeah.
So there will be, every 2 years, we have 2 state elections, and that, it depends on a rotating
Yeah.
schedule. I don't see that as problematic.
Okay.
I would we'd have to be open a minimum of 3 to 5. We could be open longer than 3 to 5 to handle that. Don't want to do a 10-hour day of my staff and then be
No,
on for
that's
16 the next
totally
day.
fair.
Yeah. I love the idea of you being open because a lot of people have to leave work to get there. And so this is a really nice opportunity for people to be able to go in before, which is wonderful, and
Right.
after. So I think that's helping not just the town, but also the residents.
And you know, I'm always flexible too, so my research, I think this will work. I predict that it'll be busier on Tuesday and Thursday, just like around the holidays, depending on when a holiday is, we might be busier. I predict Wednesdays will be our slow day. But if you know, it doesn't work out or we're noticing something, this can be tweaked. This doesn't, you know, have to be set in stone. We can be flexible.
Great.
Can I ask you something in terms of, you do an awful lot of your services now online. Do you know
Yes.
a percentage in terms of?
Yeah, I think, so when, first of all, let me say, when someone does something online, that means that we're processing it in the office and so there's still our work end of it, they're just not in the office. So I would say probably online, we're probably maybe 30%, maybe a little under that, yeah.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah, I think all town clerk tax officers will be talking about that. More and more people do things online,
Yep.
particularly since COVID. People got used to it and they're doing that, yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate you coming and asking us.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
We don't need to do anything special there.
No, they've actually used it.
Okay, great. All right, so now on to town administrator.
Sure, I don't have a lot this evening. I will start with the Stratford Regional Planning Commission visit discussion. I think some of you, perhaps all of you, saw some emails back and forth from Stratford Regional Planning. Jen says the director would like to meet with the select board and wanted to know what a good date might be. We've got meetings coming up on the 5th and the 18th. I think they were leaning towards the 18th, but her first question was, would the board be interested in meeting with her? And I know you have in the past. And second question was, when might you like to do it?
I personally think having the meeting is a great idea because there's a lot of opportunities that we don't always know about that she'd be able to bring to us and questions we can ask about things we want to do in the town. So
How do those dates line with the dates for the RFP? They're coming, like, things are trying to come due. It wasn't the 18th of September, right? This discussion, okay, I just can't remember which day it was.
The RFP, you won't be, the select board won't really be involved until late September, early October. And just, I was going to bring it up later, but I'll mention now, this Wednesday, I'm holding a site visit for interested RFP solicitors.
oh, great. That's exciting.
So we're going to meet here at 7:30 in the morning. If you're so inclined, you're welcome to be here, and then go over to the actual site and take a walk.
On Wednesday,
Wednesday at 7:30.
and then Kate. Any other questions?
Just if there's a good date, I could get back to Jen
It
with.
doesn't matter.
So you said
Is it the
our-
18th?
RFP late in September, when, because 18th is the last meeting in September, I believe.
Right, and the RFP or RFQs are due the 22nd, and then as we go into, I believe we're going to review them on October 4th, is my recollection, and
Okay.
move forward from that date.
So nothing's on the 18th.
No.
Works for me. And if that date doesn't work for any reason, could we do the 5th? I don't know if we have an offer that or.
I don't think, so I'm just looking at the other.
Okay, perfect. So 18th and backup options, great, does she prefer?
And I think that's fine. I'd had a preliminary back and forth with the person whose emails I'm not supposed to answer because they're hacked, but.
Okay.
Okay.
Her emails are fine now, but that was very upsetting on my day off. Okay.
Moving along, Katrin, oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So I didn't hear back from Megan, but we're supposed to have 2 commissioners, correct? And we had
We're supposed to have 2 commissioners.
per committee.
Right.
2 commissioners, period.
2 overall commissioners, then there are, who take committee assignments, and then there are technical advisory committee appointees as well.
Do you think are you still a commissioner?
I am
Yes.
absolutely still commissioner. We go
That's
to
on regional planning.
Okay.
So I am on the executive board. I am on the
I think she's in.
PAC and I'm on the TAC. And the reason I did that was because we didn't always have someone that was able to show up every time. And then the TAC, you have to have somebody who's actually actively involved in the town and understands what their goals are for so like planning and zoning is an option, so Wayne is an option there.
That is the one that you expired on June 30th, is the TAC.
Right, and Wayne, and who was, it was
Wayne.
Wayne
also.
and I, right?
Yeah.
So we can do that again, if you want, and then Mary is going to the PAC.
Mary is not on the TAC.
She has been at many of the PACs, she just goes on Zoom.
Right, but I thought doesn't realize, she's a she's,
Yeah, so there's
She did-
three different parts, so,
Dolan's part.
right.
Okay.
Which I thought I remember signing something, so there must be something that,
Yes.
when she switched over.
Yes.
They do not all align with necessarily the positions that people think they have, I believe.
Okay.
That's part of the problem here.
Okay.
So we have Wayne,
Yep.
and we have May, and we have,
Oh, and she's on the TAC?
no, this is a commissioner appointment form,
Right, so you're a commissioner on the PAC or the TAC?
just a commissioner. I don't know if you're on any,
Okay.
right?
We have different commissioners in different groups.
Okay.
So
Oh my God.
the first Monday of first Friday of every month and the third Friday of every month. There are two different commissions, and you have different commissioners. So Mary's a PAC commissioner, I'm a PAC commissioner with her. Wayne is a TAC commissioner, and I'm a TAC commissioner with him.
I know that the primary thing that was driving this was Wayne received notice or called and discovered that he had come off whatever committee he was on as of June 30th.
And that is what
Wanted
I
to be
thought.
reappointed.
Perfect.
I thought that was the TAC committee, because this is what I.
He is TAC.
Right, but he expired on June 30th, is what this letter says.
Correct, so we can now reinstate him,
Okay,
and that's perfect, and that's all set. And then we can add me on the TAC.
yeah, because you expired also.
Correct.
And there's an appointee and there's an alternate. He was the alternate and you were the appointee. Do you want to switch? Or do you want to stay the
If-
appointee for now?
If he is the person that's showing up, then I'm happy to not show up. The one time we both showed up. So if we're both showing up, that's great. So yeah, then I would just make sure we communicate with him that if he can't come, to let me know.
Okay.
So that's great. All right, and then for the PAC, same thing, unless there's somebody that the policy commission doesn't have to, isn't it policy that doesn't have to
I
have?
haven't seen
someone
any
involved?
letter regarding
We haven't had any
policy.
PAC letters. It's been
Okay.
exclusively TAC.
So Mary's not,
commissioner.
all right, so Mary's not up for renewal on the PAC.
This is the application that she filled out. It did not say PAC,
It
it
just
just
said
said
commissioner.
commissioner.
And we can look at it later too. If we go, anytime you go on the Stratford Regional Planning Commission page, it'll say the commissioner and then it'll say the expiration date.
Were you able to see that too?
No.
If you go under, if you go under communities and then you click on, or if you look, yeah,
It looked like we had some blanks
Okay.
when I went on earlier, but I will,
beautiful.
I can,
I have the website now, huh?
We'll
if we
do
can,
this, we'll
if we
take
can
care
take
of
care
this.
of you and Wayne this evening, I can reconnoiter with SRPC and
I love it. If anyone is ever interested in taking over this spot that I take, I would happily give it away. Just one of them, you have to have connections to the town in some way, like being the planning.
be on board or
Right.
something.
A lot of the people in the TAC are actually work for the town, and they are like representatives from Durham and Dover and things. But yes, all right. Do we need to vote on
I need a flow chart.
it? A flow chart, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No.
No, I don't think so.
I have so many email, I'm like, which one? It's leaninghampshire.org. It seems so simple right now. Okay. Can I appoint myself? Is that weird? That seems weird.
You can recuse yourself if you'd like. and
Okay,
let you
perfect.
know.
Let's do that. That sounds more legal. I'm already dancing on thin air with all the other stuff. Okay. While you're signing that, I can look up the,
Yeah.
This is the page, if they would just come up, they would show you, so you hit leave, and then it'll be the leave members now, their expiration dates. Okay, back to where we were. Yeah, you have more for us.
Yes. Number two item was air purifiers. I know Katrina was interested in this a while ago, asked me to look into it, and I did come back to the board, but sort of let it fall by the wayside as concerns about keeping the building open, masking, and that sort of thing fell by the wayside. What I had put in the backup with the agenda is what's called a Trio Plus. This is a portable 3-facet air purifier if the board is interested in pursuing these. I gave you some of the background data about what they'll do. I think 2 of them would probably handle the town office pretty well. I don't know if you want to go beyond the town office with these. I would certainly recommend going with the portable ones, particularly where we don't own the space we're in right now. So they could move with us if we moved, and they could also be moved, if we had a building that didn't have these present and had a breakout or multiple staff members in a small quantity of time that had symptoms from COVID or whatnot, we could move them there. The cost of these ranges from $1,100 to $2,000, depending on where you get the quote from. I believe there is still some CARES money available through the ARPA funding. One of the things I ran into that sort of made me lag on this was they were much more interested in educational facilities than they were just office facilities when I had initially talked to them about CARES money. But I have made some calls, and apparently we are eligible. We will not necessarily be at the front of the list if there are educational institutions or direct caregiver medical providers that are in line ahead of us. But if the board so desires, I can get in line and see what we can get for grant money.
That'd be wonderful. So is there an option for a room like this where we are all meeting together?
Certainly, you could, one of these, I forget the exact turnover time, each of these units rolls over something like 3,000 square feet every hour.
Great.
So you could certainly put a unit like this in this room. And if I can get hard and fast figures and what we might get for grant money, I think that'll probably help you make a decision as to how many of them you'd like to install.
And do also an important cost aspect I found out since buying these myself is making sure we know what it costs to replace filters and that that's planned for.
Yep.
All right, that sounds great.
New Hampshire housing update, I just put that on there because we were in the middle of the HOPS grant process. Mark from the chairman of the planning, Bellevue, the chairman of the planning board, Karen Rossi and myself had a Zoom meeting with the consulting firm that is preparing the background for our use of the HOPS grant moving forward, basically looking at zoning regulations and planning with regard to ADUs, additional dwelling units, and perhaps making those easier to utilize here in Lee. Coupled with that, Mark, Karen, and I are 2/3 of the way through the New Hampshire Housing Academy, which is a UNH cooperative extension led effort with the backing of New Hampshire Housing and Plan New Hampshire. And you may remember Plan New Hampshire from probably 14, 15 years ago when they did design charrettes. They're still doing that for the community, but they're a part of this as well. We have one more class, that being on Wednesday. Part of the requirement of the HOP grant to review your planning and zoning regulations was that 3 community members complete the Housing Academy. So 2 of those meetings have been Zoom. It's a little bit of time. One of them was last week. It was actually a 6-hour in-person class in Bedford. But we all made it through it, and it was actually more interesting and gave some better insight than I expected when I walked in the front door. So I was pleased that I went.
Do we have some new ideas coming down the pipe here?
We do. What I'm also hoping is they are using a technology called a Padlet, which is an on-site, I don't know what the difference is between an on-site site with data and a Padlet, but the Padlet enables you to go review all the course material. When we complete the course, I believe we can make that available to the community at large, and there's a wealth of information in there that really be accessible. So, upon completion, Karen and I will try to make that available to the general public as well as certainly the planning board and the zoning board and anyone else interested.
Excellent, that's great news.
But with regard to miscellaneous, I just wanted to remind the board that, and I don't know the exact dates, Steve is still here, he may have them. Packers Falls Road, the Chesley Brook project, as that unfolds, is going to result obviously in some limitations and closure on that road, and that is, we're within the 2-week outlook now of that starting, so I just want to bring the board up to date, so if you start getting phone calls,
And we're
if
gonna
the school bus get
let
through or
people
whatever.
know and.
Yes, my intention is to get this on social media as soon as I've got the actual dates of the closure.
Mr. Bullock has an idea.
He may have the actual dates of the closure.
The concrete's being delivered September 18th.
Okay.
So the hole has to be dug by before then, because they're gonna put it right in off the truck. So it's, I don't have the piece of paper right on me, but it's probably they're gonna start right around the 5th of September and close it probably about a week later. It'll be closed until everything's backfilled, and then they're gonna open the road back up. Will they do other stuff off the side of the road? They'll probably close it again for a day to grade it, and then leave it closed overnight, and then pave it, and then it'll open. Karen is trying to get every landowner, or every house, not landowner, because some people don't actually have houses on the land, but on Packers Falls Road, Jenkins and Wednesday Hill, since that's gonna be the detour, to let them know. And it's gonna, we've already written the letter, Julia wrote it, it's like a dual, your road's gonna be closed / your road is one of the detours, so you're gonna see either a closure or increased traffic. And we'll send it to everyone on Packers Falls and then Jenkins and Wednesday Hill so they know. And hopefully we'll get those sent out later this week. Karen's trying to get a list so we can get it.
Would you do me a favor, and when you find out exactly what those dates are, would you give them to the school district and also?
I've already talked to the school.
So they know?
Yeah, so I talked to, I can't remember her name, but I talked to her the other day because they're trying to build their bus routes.
Lisa?
Yeah, Lisa, sorry. I talk to her all the time too, I couldn't remember her name. So I talked to her because they were trying to build their bus routes and I wanted her to know before she built them completely. And there's 2 people inside the closure that need a van to come pick them up, which they can still get in, so that's not an issue. And then there's a couple people that are gonna have to go to the intersection of Jenkins Road and Packers Falls at the road closure to get picked up by the big bus.
Okay.
So they know that.
The other thing I would request, and maybe the chief would be a better person, but could someone let the Durham PD know that this is occurring? I'm not sure how much they use that road for
That's-
patrols and
Yeah,
stuff.
Stratford Dispatch and
Yeah.
UNH Dispatch will know.
Okay,
We're also gonna put out our electronic signs
Great.
to let people.
Mine's going up Friday, his is going up next week
okay, good.
because their UNH is using his for move-in.
And with all that activity that you're doing in communication, you're still gonna get people that call and complain,
I know.
so,
Yeah, I'm gonna send that same letter we're writing to Durham,
okay.
Newmarket, and then McGregor Memorial.
Them too, yeah, good.
We've been making a list and trying to go over it, and I'm sure we're still gonna miss somebody.
No,
That's our red list bridge, right? Once that's done, we will no longer have a red list bridge, is that correct?
No.
No?
We currently do not possess any town-owned red list bridges. The red list bridge is by the racetrack on 125.
Okay. I just was looking at the town of Lee.
That's fun for next year when they do that culvert.
That's the one.
They also had updates that they're going to pave Route 4 from the Epsom traffic circle to the Lee traffic circle, and about the same time, they're gonna close 125 for the culvert replacement, so.
I didn't think they were gonna close it, they were gonna do lanes and then,
Yeah, I believe it's, some part
I
of it's gonna be
haven't
closed.
looked at it. They're gonna have to close it at times. It may be closed during the day, but I don't think they'll leave it all night.
okay,
But I don't think they can do it
okay.
I think it's almost impossible to do it without closing it at some point.
Okay.
To a picture of the town and the things.
So I'll call and complain that I can't get to work because I can't
Yeah,
anticipate that call.
Don't call
That's
to
fine.
complain.
I get calls all the time wanting to know why I designed the traffic circle the way I did, so.
Yeah, Steve, really.
Yes.
It's a terrible idea.
Thank
Alright,
you.
that's a joke to everyone out there, because do not design the traffic circle.
The other miscellaneous item I had was the Historical Society agreement for use of the building. I have two models that I did not include in the consent agenda. There is no template anywhere on earth for a memorandum of understanding for renting town buildings or museums. I have a memo of understanding one-pager that is sort of congenial and neighborly and what it is. And I also did a free lease agreement that I showed to the assistant town administrator, who said, this seems really over the top, Andy, and probably shouldn't float that. So I don't know what the board's preference is, if you'd like a one-pager, or if you'd like something with more legalese in it.
The Historical Society is considered a nonprofit, correct?
Right, they are a 501c3.
Right. So one of the things that when I was at my grant writing class, I was learning about was the Portsmouth Historical Society is very nervous because they're talking about sharing a building that has town information and Historical Society information in the same house, and that they're very concerned how the funding goes because of the 501(c)(3), whatever, the nonprofit. And the thing is, I don't think we're really aware that that's challenging, like monetarily wise, like how we're paying for buildings and things, because there are different rules for a government building and a 501(c)(3). Have you looked into any of that?
I have not looked into that. I have called other communities, larger and with more money thrown at things than this, our particular situation here, assuming that clearly they had memos of understanding and they have nothing, and said, we don't know, we've just always used this space.
Yeah, most of the ones I've talked to have said that they either purchased it or they'll say rent it for some, nominal amount of money, and then the agreement is that they keep up the building. So just interesting to try to figure out how that's going forward.
But I don't know if the board has preference as to what you'd like to see.
There needs to be
Simple yet friendly space.
Well, there needs to be something in place so that both parties understand their responsibilities and their privileges. So there needs to be something versus, oh, let's just swing it. Because something will probably happen in some particular future, and Historical Society, well, the town's responsible, and the town thinks, well, no, you're responsible. I think that needs to be clear in terms of who's responsible for what going forward, so that we all understand what the arrangement is. So,
And that's what sort of took me down the legalistic rabbit hole. I just kept adding one more thing, thinking, oh, that should be addressed. And maybe I can just simplify that and curb it a little and bring that to the board.
the other thing, just remember, you're not creating something that's going to stand the test of time. I think you need to have something in place, and then if something comes up, we're going to just have to deal with it. Because you can't think of everything.
I just think we have to be very careful and aware and cognizant, and maybe talk to the lawyers about what a 501(c)(3) can accept.
I may be able to get some information through municipal association as to if there's any conflict between.
I know the library has separate entities, and that's really complicated because they're the same, and they have to be very careful and aware of what comes to where.
Okay, I'll bring that forward, and just on that note, the Historical Society has made arrangements to put liability insurance in place, and one of the things the insurance company wants is some sort of agreement listing the insurance requirements, that type of thing, so
Great.
we'll path that I would.
Moving forward, I like that, thank you.
Jan,
And that's,
Jan, not.
I'm sorry, yes,
Jan, not that.
Yeah.
wrong committee. And I did check out the
Unsafe.
Pat
Oh, yes.
offered the fireproof filing cabinet that is currently in the annex. And we have two town departments that are interested in it. The town clerk responded first, and unless there's disagreement or opposition from the board, I told her that we would endeavor to move that to the town clerk's office. They're required to keep some of the state documents they have in a safe. Right now, they have a sportsman's gun safe that has racks for rifles and pistols in it that they use to put vehicle registrations and various other things in the various slots, and they thought that the fireproof stand-up locker cabinet might be a more suitable. Depending on whether they need to keep the gun safe, the police department is interested in a real gun safe and/or a lockable fireproof cabinet. So if the cabinet serves their needs, I may see if we can move the gun safe to the police
Can we just
department.
approve that now, if that works? Yeah.
I don't know that it
Approve,
even
okay,
needs
good.
approval, as long
Go
as
for
there's
it.
no objection on the board's part.
Everyone knows on yard sales, first come, first served. So you show up, you take it, it's yours, so.
The only problem being that the upright safe in the annex building right now, I gave it a rock and it's probably 700 pounds. And the gun safe that's in the town clerk's office is probably heavier than that.
Do we have those like cool lifty thingies? You have something.
What if we got a ramp truck?
Yeah, I think all we need is a heavy-duty hand truck and a couple of people probably, but
Well, let me know.
They have those cool, have you seen those refrigerator mover guys? They have little things and they go.
Little strap.
Yeah, and then they.
Shoulder dog.
refrigerators weigh like 250
I know.
pounds. This weighs well,
Yeah, exactly, piano, like all the big stuff, it's crazy. All right.
That's all I had, and you don't have any specific questions for me.
I think Steve should just strap it to his neck and carry it.
Good steer.
Okay, the thing I sent you today, so.
Yes.
I just let the ladies know.
Yes, Scott forwarded, a concerned citizen had done some deed research, and there's a half-acre parcel of property off of Cherry Lane that is listed as a town-owned property. I believe it's landlocked backland. It is not showing on any tax map, and when you look at the assessor's comments on previous tax cards, it says that they believe this is town-owned property, but they cannot locate it. It's either been assimilated into other parcels of property, and the gentleman that sent the email to Scott provided all the registry records and documentation, or the titles of them, so I can track that down. One of the things that I'm going to check is to make sure it wasn't redeemed. Sometimes those things are set up for auction, and it looks like the town took them at the last minute, the landowner redeemed them. So I'm going to go through those records, make sure that didn't happen, and if that's not the case, we will see about where Lee's half-acre parcel off of Cherry Lane is.
Locked in no way to get into or out of,
It's
so
apparently near the cemetery or behind the cemetery and another parcel there.
very interesting.
You don't often find
Building
lost
stone.
land.
It's like the
so.
Bermuda Triangle, but in.
It's kind of like when they did the subdivision on my road, the town misplaced, I think, 3 or 4 acres. Take care of know more about it. And we didn't find it until we're looking, well, wait a minute, Lee has this many acres, well, we're missing some. And they missed it. So,
This parcel apparently does show up per the email on a subdivision plan for the only subdivision in the area. So,
good, thank you. I just wanted them to
Yep.
know that was happening.
All right.
and that was all I had.
And then Scott, you wanted to bring up something about the library? No? Is that something?
We have him down lower on the agenda.
Further
Oh.
down.
I'm sorry. Do we have any other old business though?
Consent agenda.
That's what happened. I apologize. I just skipped a piece there. All right. So, I just have to move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Fabulous.
I was so excited to see how many applications we got for the 250th committee. My favorite was the one that said that she'd been on every committee since 1966.
Yes.
Like, you might be my favorite person.
Didn't some of the women on this committee also start the Historical Society back 50 years ago?
Some of them.
Is this just a one thing to sign? You want to split that up with them? I don't know if that works. Do you have the police chief thing for us to sign? It was right there. Did it get like.
I think it is actually in the,
All right.
On this pile, so my.
Oh, you know what?
Okay. It's like, it's funny, I'm like, I got it, this one's
Just
just
know the
stupid.
economy is strong from all the repairs at my house. Are all three of us signing the table and subrecipient signature?
That's the one,
This is all three of us?
I believe so,
and then we
yes.
have to initial at the bottom of the page. Pages.
Of which one, Mr. Zerkes?
Way to the end, we have to initial the bottom of the pages as a place for it.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's the federal form. Oh, wait a minute, what are you doing in my piles? I haven't done this one.
Yep. So the signer's printer name, that one has one, is that me? Is that all of us?
I just wasn't sure. I know it said.
So here. Am I just signing this or is everyone signing this?
Just you. It says.
Thanks.
Sorry,
Okay, I was gonna stare at you.
it's fine. It makes me really comfortable.
Comes the end of summer.
Yep, can went fast.
Okay, but Demerit is open, so that means it falls on its way.
I'm very excited about her. Lily lost all their apples.
And the peaches.
They peaches, yeah. They lost everything. Well, I mean, they pumpkins. They pumpkins.
And they're baking.
Yeah, pretty much all of New Hampshire lost all the peaches and a lot of them lost their apples. They're just there. But they had stuff that they brought in from other places that were just delicious.
Yes. Oh my goodness, there are a lot. All right, so I'm missing
This long
anything?
pause brought to you by Chief Johnson
I know.
and his grant.
Bringing you free money though, so it's worth it.
Is that the grant? I haven't signed it.
Nope, you haven't.
No, we haven't seen it at all.
Oh, sorry, that's
It
right.
was
I
their
knew that
turn.
I knew there was a whole bunch that I had to sign, and then you're right, there are some in there for all of us to sign. Sorry, that's all set. They're all together, so sorry. Together.
No?
You're supposed to sign over here and then put your title over here. Signature.
I'm gonna give you one back.
Can we add select board though?
Yeah,
Add
well,
title?
that's what they want, yeah. It's a federal form and they get very picky, right, chief?
Can you just sign it over?
Yes,
Yes.
very. I got that email with the blazer.
Oh, great, thank you.
These do not have anything for us to sign, I don't know if you want to see that.
Here you go.
Where's the 21st?
It is the
Yes.
21st.
Oh my heck.
Any glasses are leaving in the shop.
Oh, so,
I did not find any signatures for us in those pages, but I didn't know if you wanted to see them. I thought I'd save you some trouble. Initials.
so you got initial this?
Oh, I went to the sign here thing, sign it.
Oh,
yeah.
Started,
Yeah.
I believe.
Denise is
Denise.
very deceptive in her sticky things here.
Deceptive sticking.
She's a deceptive, sticky writer.
Right. And this is the one. It's the bottom.
Oh,
That one might have been me.
nice face.
Sorry.
Is that right in your space?
It was me. It's okay.
It was you. All right.
The other day.
It's a
I don't think I can take any more threads today.
That's the bottom.
Anything in there?
I didn't think in there.
Oh, these are all the instructions.
Okay, where's that one that I forgot?
Oh, yeah. Make sure that's to sign that one.
Apparently your signature goes here and your title goes here.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay, come.
I feel that. I got it later, but yeah.
That's okay, we want to make sure so we didn't get, that was the whole,
Yeah, I was trying to
they're
figure
getting
it out.
angry thing. No, it's okay, it's all good.
Do you have anything else left to discuss, or are we just gonna go to, for the old business? Or just go to Mr. Bugby's?
I don't really. I have no further information on cost benefit analysis, and the next thing coming up with regard to the town office building planning is Wednesday's morning site visit.
Great.
Update on the digitization project. I did have a Zoom meeting with the Canon digitization team. They're getting me a quote with 3 options. It'll be a fairly rough quote until they can expect what we have for actual files. I gave them a pretty good estimate of what we've got in filing cabinets, a pretty good estimate of what we've got in bankers boxes. The 3 options that they're going to give me are if we participate with our employees in the actual scanning, if we have an on-site team come in and use our new copier scanner that we're getting, do it on-site, and the third option is if they can take things off-site. And they have a lot of municipal experience, know one of the first things they would do if they take things off-site is they do a preliminary scan, assign every page an ID. So if in the process of the off-site scanning you need a particular property document or that sort of thing, they can pull it and send you a facsimile.
It seems like a lot of extra time for double scanning.
It did seem like a lot of extra
Yeah.
time. He told me that I would be surprised at what the numbers look like when I got the quotes. That was last week when I met with him. So and my intention would be to get the quotes, try to refine them a little bit. And I've already told him we're a municipality. Clearly, this would be an RFP, and then craft an RFP, based on my better understanding of how teams approach this. But
Perfect.
Can I ask you a question? It's
Yes.
kind of digitization, but the Heritage Commission has acquired a scanner. So they're gonna start scanning their stuff, but they're gonna do a culling process, kind of, scan, save, not save, or just store. One of the things they need is a storage mechanism, and I know that MTAC, Municipal.
The MTAC committee,
Yeah, is getting different subcommittees and commissions access to store things online. Have they
Right.
done that? Is that finished? And can they get access?
yeah, I don't believe it's finished. Certainly, we could set up storage options, depending on how much space you need, and that's something I can do pretty easily through Back Bay. I say pretty easily because it sounded really easy when we've set every committee up, and every committee has probably called me back and said, how do you store this stuff? So, but I believe that MTAC and Back Bay are pretty well along in having a handle on this and being able to help other committees get set up with cloud storage.
Okay, so if you can officially put in a request from the Heritage Commission to get a storage mechanism, because they want to start that at some point. I think our next meeting is September something or other, and they're going to start scanning, so they need a place to store that that's, not in somebody's house. So if you can find a storage mechanism for them, that would be great.
Digital storage.
Digital storage.
Not in somebody's house and not in somebody's personal Gmail account.
Yes.
Not in one of the many storage facilities
That
along
would be great.
25.
And eventually, they'd be like to be able to have a place where they can store stuff, but then have another place that's accessible to like somebody from the outside. So like, for instance, if you're looking for, records from livestock things from the 1800s, they could post that stuff out there so people could get to it. Because right now, first off, they don't know exactly everything that they've got, and two, nobody knows it's there.
Right.
So being able to get that stuff available to people, so if they want to do a analysis of, Hampshire livestock things in the 1800s, that could be a source of information for
Do
them.
they know about the new technology that they can actually read handwriting? So if you put in a name, it can actually
Yeah.
find.
And that's part of what I talked about with Canon. Their protocol would be an ODIC character recognition,
Yeah.
which, just grossly increases your ability to search because it will do its best to read handwriting and
Amazing.
pull by particular words. So you can scan all your documents for anything to do with livestock, at a certain date and
Yep.
all that, so.
Yep, many of those particular documents are typed. They do have
No,
some.
they're handwriting. That's what they've created now. It's like cursive reading. Crazy.
They did lead me to believe that the character recognition, excels at typed and text, that sort of thing, but also will pull from cursive handwriting. So
Yeah.
We'll see,
Very
we'll see. But you need the storage.
I don't know how it is with Old English or
Yeah.
that sort of thing, find out some of the deeds, but.
Yeah. All right, sounds good.
All right.
Thank you. Do you want to do the lamprey thing?
Yes.
One of the things that we talked about and the board asked for, I met with the lamprey people the weekend before last, and she provided me all those particular documents. I don't have a chance to look at them, but,
Here.
the Lamprey River Advisory Committee is not very happy with DES. They still have raw sewage going into the Lamprey. They're not very happy about that. Epping seems to be under control at the moment. DES, I believe, is still in control of that particular site. But she shared all this information, and she sent things to DES, and they're like, no, we're all good, we're all good. And they said because it's not a beach or any kind of recreational thing, you don't have to adhere to those particular limits. It's a boat launch, and that doesn't fit their criteria, I guess. So they're not pushing the particular owner that has the raw sewage going into Lamprey.
And no one's drinking from below the dam, seems to be the rationale.
Yeah, well, people are kayaking, and if you follow your kayak, and if you're kayaking, you do that once in a while, so you're gonna get a surprise, so.
If not, they're making the market this year.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people have voiced that this year, that no, most people don't know, so.
Well, that's why I provided the document, so if somebody wants to check it out, they can, but.
Thank you very much for that update.
Yep.
Seemed a little defensive in the message there.
I noticed that as well.
Any other new business? Anything else anyone wants to bring up? No? All right, I move to enter into non-public session, New Hampshire RSA, what, do we miss something?
A and L.
Okay. A:3, 2, and 1, and also, what was that? That's an L?
A&M,
And L, okay.
there's no one doing
I'm getting new glasses, you guys are gonna be awesome. Roll call vote, oh, actually, somebody's second.
it. Second,
Great, and roll call vote. Mr. Murphy?
yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, for a yes. So we're- Thanks, everyone, that was quite a meeting.
It's the wrong sheet.
It does.
Thank you.
My daughter got.
Oh my God.
I can't even, that's just, oh, and they lost her luggage from camp, and then she had to get 2 days later. So she had to buy all this stuff. It's been fun. Don't worry, it's gonna be quick. Everything on SRBC.
I say there's nobody to come in here.
None of us are expired, which I thought we were up to date as well, so I'm not sure what Megan has sent us. But if you look on the SRPC webpage, it says most soon to be expired is 2024, so I don't know if that's all, but